walk through this problem and I'm going to try drawing out an environment diagram for it. Alright, so I'm not going to walk through every single detail. I'm going to assume a basic understanding of environment diagrams, but of course I will focus on the trickier parts of the problem. So I encourage you to pause the video and try it out yourself first. Assuming you've done that, I'm now going to walk through the solution. So we start off at line 2 and we open up our global frame, and we have this value 2, and b is a variable. We're just going to take on the value 2 for now. And then on line 3 we have the variable a that's going to point to a lambda function. And like I mentioned in the environment diagram video, with the medium level difficulty problem, I put subscripts next to my lambdas. So I would put lambda sub 1 over here, lambda sub 2 over here, and lambda sub 3 over there. And this is how I would refer to them in my diagram. It just makes it easier, in my opinion. But you don't have to put a subscript. Okay, so function lambda, and it takes in the parameter a, and the parent is global, because we were in the global frame when we saw this lambda expression. Okay, next we move on to line 4. So here, line 4. And on the right hand side of the equal to sign, we have this whole thing. Oops. Okay, so this whole thing. And it looks super tricky, but we see this parentheses over here, and then there's another parentheses with a number. And this whole thing is a lambda expression. So this is the head of the lambda function, and this is the body of the lambda function. The first lambda function at least. And for what's happening here is we're passing in this 3 into this a. So it's a function call, right? Because we have a lambda and open parentheses and an input. So since it's a function call, we open up a new frame. So we're going to name this frame lambda. This is lambda sub 2. Okay, pretend there's a sub 2 there, so lambda sub 2. And also it's a good idea to write line numbers. I forgot to do it here, so I do it right now. This one was on line 3, and this lambda, so lambda 2, which is this one, is on line 4. So put line 4 here, just for convenience. And the parent of this lambda 2 function is actually the global frame, because this is the lambda 2 function, and the first time we see it, we were in the global frame. Okay, so the parent was global, and we have a parameter a, which is this thing over here. So the value that a takes on right now is just what is passed into this function, so it's 3. So this 3 is used here, just like how you have in lab. If you didn't understand that, going through lab again would perhaps help. Okay, so that is what a is, and since we've already gotten the value of this parameter, we then return the value of this lambda expression call. So the return value is everything to the right hand side of the colon, which is this. So this is our return value. Our return value is a lambda expression. Okay, so return value, I write RV for short, is a lambda expression. So func lambda, I'm going to call this lambda lambda sub 3, and the input is b, and the parent is just the frame that we are in right now, so that's f1. And yes, of course, the line number is 4. Yeah. Okay, so that's the return value of this frame. Something I like to do is just to put a tick mark next to the frame after I've calculated the return value. You don't have to put the tick mark, it's just for my convenience. I know that once I have the tick mark there, I finished going through everything in this frame. An important example or a useful example where this tick mark method really helps is the medium level example for environment diagrams that I also posted on YouTube. So you should try that one out just for practice. Yeah. Okay. So I finished this frame F1 and I finished going through line 4, at least this part of line 4. I still need to, so I've gotten the value of this part, but I still need to write out this value and assign it to C. So C equals that value, so C is in the global frame and C is the return value of this whole thing. And we found that value to be here, so C will just point to this. Okay, next we move on to line 5. On line 5, we look at the right hand side of the equal to sign first, and we see that there is a function call. Okay, so we first need to actually look at the variable C in the global frame because that's where we are right now. Line 5 is in the global frame. We finished going through F1. We have the tick mark in F1, we're not there anymore, we're in the global frame. So we're in the global frame, we need to look up the value for C. So for C, we look through this global frame, we find it here, and it points to this function, this lambda function. And we have an open parentheses, and then we have A. So we're still in the global frame, so we look in the global frame for the variable A, and we find it right here. So that's the A we're going to use. And since we've evaluated the value of A, which is this function, as well as the value of C, we now apply C to A, and it's a function call. So we open up a new frame, F2, and it's this lambda, so lambda 3. That's on line 4 with parent F1, and we have a parameter B for this lambda expression, line 4, this one. Okay, so this B is basically this A, and that A we saw was this thing. We mentioned that earlier whilst we were evaluating C and A in the global frame. So B will just point to whatever that is, so there, and after that we've basically covered the head of this function, so now we return the value of this lambda B. So the return value is whatever comes after this colon, which is just this thing, right? So what we do is we return this B open parentheses A close parentheses. That is our return value. So first we look at B, and we're still in frame 2, so we look for the value of B in frame 2, and we find it here. So B is this lambda 1 function. And then we look for A, which is this. So we look for A in frame F2 first, but we can't find it there, so we go to the parent frame, which is F1. And so this is frame F1. We look for the value of A there, and we find it here. So we're going to use that value. And since we found the value of B as well as the value of A, we now apply this function lambda 1, because that's what B points to. So we apply lambda 1 on A, which is 3. So I will open up frame 3, and I have the function I'm using right now is the function that B points to, which is lambda 1. So this will be lambda 1, and the parent is global. So parent is global. writing the line number always helps, so you could write line 3 here. We then have an A, so an A in the parameter, and that A, as we mentioned earlier, was this, which is 3, so we use that here, right? So A is 3, and this is lambda 1 on line 3, which is this thing. So we're done with the head of the function, and we return the value A divided by B, so A flow div B, and that value is just, so we look up the value of A first in frame F3, and we find that A is 3. Then we look up the value of B in frame F3, but we can't find it here, and so we go to the parent frame, which is global. So we come here, and B is then 2. So we have A is 3 and B is 2, and 3 flow div 2 is just 1. So return value is 1. Okay, so we're finished with the return value for frame F3. Then I move up, but I see frame F2 doesn't have a tick mark here, and the return value has not been filled in. So I need to fill that in, and the return value over here will also be 1, because it just uses the value from here, because this value is returned to this frame. Right? Okay. So this is done. This frame has a tick mark, so I leave it alone. So frame F1 is done. Global doesn't have a tick mark yet. So I was on line 5 earlier, and I know that the value of C of A, so C open parentheses, A close parentheses, was 1. That's the return value I just calculated. But I still need to assign that value to the variable A. So I look for the variable A in the global frame, and since I do find it in the global frame, I need to change this value of A. So I remove only the pointer. Oh no, yeah, I remove only the pointer. Okay, and this A will just be 1, because that's the value we returned earlier. So A is 1. Okay, and after line 5, after this assignment statement, we're done with the global frame, and since all my frames have tick marks, I know that I'm done walking through the code. And on Python Tutor, this is what the end result looks like. Okay, hope that helps, and keep practicing environment diagrams. They're very important, not just for midterms and finals, but also for tracing code in general. And let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.